echoes of the drowned one. The salt-laced wind whipped Evelyn Thorne's hair into a frenzy as she stared out the bus window, its grime distorting the already desolate view of Saltwind. The seaside town, once a vibrant haven for fishermen and tourists, clung precariously to the cliffside like a shipwreck. Peeling paint clung desperately to weathered wood, and the once bustling harbor sat eerily empty. A knot of dread tightened in Evelyn's stomach. This wasn't just another investigative trip. This was a homecoming, albeit a strained one. 5 years had passed since her last, bitter exchange with her brother Elias, leaving a chasm of unspoken grief in its wake. His cryptic message, urging her to come to Saltwind, had shattered the fragile peace she'd built for herself. It was a desperate plea, a threadbare lifeline thrown across the roaring chasm of time. Stepping off the bus, the oppressive silence of Saltwind washed over her, broken only by the relentless moaning of the ocean. Even the gulls seemed to avoid the decaying town, their cries echoing mournfully from a distance. Stepping into Elias' ramshackle house, she found him older than his years, his eyes haunted and distant. The scent of brine and something metallic, a tang of fear perhaps, clung to him like a shroud. The townsfolk, pale and insular figures with eyes that darted nervously, eyed her with a suspicion that went beyond simple curiosity. Greetings were curt, smiles strained. Their whispers followed her like the tide, a language woven with fear and something more primal, something she couldn't quite grasp. Driven by a journalist's relentless curiosity and the gnawing ache of unresolved family tension, Evelyn embarked on her investigation. The town library, a dusty repository of forgotten memories, held the key. In faded records and brittle newspapers, she unearthed a chilling history, a forgotten cult, their worship of a nameless entity from the depths, and a string of disappearances blamed on rogue waves, all pointed towards a horrifying truth lurking beneath the surface. The unease that had settled in her gut solidified into a cold knot of dread as each day brought new discoveries. Whispered conversations in the dead of night, fleeting glimpses of strange rituals performed behind closed doors, and the townsfolk's unsettling reverence for the ever-churning sea all fueled her growing suspicion. Elias, ever withdrawn, became more and more elusive, his warnings to leave growing increasingly desperate, his voice laced with a fear she couldn't understand. Sleep became a battleground. Nightmares, vivid and terrifying, plagued her dreams. The whispers of the wind morphed into a language that chilled her soul. The reflection in the water became a distorted, monstrous visage staring back with malign intent. A gnawing sense of being watched, a cold hand crawling up her spine, became her constant companion. Driven by a morbid curiosity and a desperate need to understand, Evelyn decided to take a gamble. She delved deeper, venturing beyond the town limits. A hidden cave entrance, guarded by weather-beaten statues of grotesque sea creatures, offered a chilling invitation. The air inside hung heavy, the smell of decay and brine twisting in her stomach. A crude altar, adorned with strange symbols and offerings of fish with eyes gouged out, sat ominously at the center. As she traced a symbol on the damp stone, the ground began to tremble. A deep, booming voice resonated from the ocean depths, threatening to shatter the very fabric of reality. The earth cracked open, revealing a churning abyss that pulsed with an unholy light. From the darkness rose a creature, colossal and amorphous, its form shifting like shadows thrown by a dying fire. It pulsed with a beauty that was both mesmerizing and terrifying, a cosmic horror that sent shivers down her spine. The townsfolk, cloaked in white robes and with faces contorted in ecstatic worship, emerged from the shadows. Elias was among them, his eyes glazed with a strange fervor. He pleaded with her to join them, to embrace the drowned one's gift. The horrifying truth slammed into Evelyn. The townsfolk weren't afraid of the creature. They worshipped it. Their fear was for those who wouldn't embrace its madness. The disappearances weren't accidents. They were sacrifices offered to appease this cosmic horror. Evelyn screamed, a primal cry of defiance against the overwhelming insanity. The creature pulsed, its gaze fixing upon her with a cold, malevolent intelligence. In that moment, she felt the threads of her sanity fraying at the edges. But then, a memory surfaced: the love for her brother, the promise to find the truth. With a surge of strength fueled by love and defiance, she grabbed a fallen rock and smashed a symbol on the altar. The cave shuddered violently. The creature shrieked, its light flickering and fading. The townsfolk stumbled back, their faces contorted in horror as their god weakened. The earth began to crumble, the cave collapsing in on itself. Evelyn barely escaped, scrambling up the cliffside, the taste of salt and fear on her lips. As dawn painted the sky, she watched the collapsed cave entrance, a tomb for the drowned one and the town's warped faith. Elias was gone, presumed crushed in the cave-in. The air was thick with the aftermath, a heavy silence broken only by the relentless waves crashing against the rocks. Evelyn, a desolate figure against the rising sun, walked away from the ruins of Saltwind. The truth had come at a terrible cost. The townsfolk were dead, their twisted religion destroyed. She had won, but the victory tasted like ash in her mouth. The sea raged on, relentless and indifferent. Part of Evelyn knew this wasn't the end. The whispers of the drowned one might still echo in the wind, a chilling reminder of the cosmic horrors lurking just beyond the veil of reality. Back in the bustling city, the cacophony of traffic and the bright lights felt alien. Yet, the quiet hum of normalcy couldn't drown out the lingering dread. She tried to write her story, but the words wouldn't come. How do you capture the madness you've witnessed, the brush with an entity that defied comprehension? Days bled into weeks, the silence of her apartment a stark contrast to the ever-present roar of the ocean in her dreams. The nightmares became a nightly torment, the drowned one a recurring visitor, its form shifting, its whispers growing clearer. One night, a frantic phone call shattered the fragile peace. It was a local reporter from Saltwind, a voice tinged with fear. The collapse had unearthed something, a hidden chamber deep within the cave. Strange symbols adorned the walls, and in the center, a pulsating orb of light. Evelyn knew what she had to do. This wasn't over. Packing a bag, she boarded the next bus to Saltwind, a sense of grim determination replacing the fear. The town was a ghost town, the collapsed cave a gaping wound in the cliffside. Ignoring the warnings of the lone reporter who had met her, Evelyn descended into the darkness. The air grew colder, the silence heavier with each step. The symbols on the walls pulsed with an eerie light, guiding her deeper. Finally, she reached the chamber, the pulsating orb bathing the room in an otherworldly glow. As she approached, the orb began to shift, taking the form of a shimmering eye. The whispers, once fragmented, became a chilling chorus, a language that resonated deep within her bones. It spoke of forgotten times, of a cosmic dance between order and chaos, and of the inevitable return of the drowned one. Evelyn understood then. The drowned one wasn't vanquished. It was merely weakened. This orb, this fragment of its essence, was a seed, waiting to grow. With trembling hands, she reached for a nearby rock. The orb pulsed, a wave of power washing over her. But this time, she was prepared. The fight was brutal, a battle of wills against the overwhelming power of the entity. But fueled by a desperate hope and the weight of the lives lost, Evelyn smashed the orb. The chamber shuddered. The symbols on the walls flickered and died. Silence descended, heavy and absolute. As the dust settled, Evelyn stumbled out of the cave, the first rays of dawn painting the sky. She had won again, but at what cost? The drowned one might be dormant, but the memory of its touch lingered. The whispers might have faded, but the knowledge of what lurked beneath the surface of reality would forever haunt her. Leaving Saltwind behind, Evelyn knew this was just the beginning. The world was a vast and terrifying place, and somewhere, something else was waiting to be woken. She was no longer just a journalist. She was a guardian, forever scarred by the horrors she had witnessed, forever vigilant against the encroaching darkness.